What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Musi Gaming here, and today I'm here to give you the best recommendation for Cavalry mains in terms of what is the best pairing options that you can bring out in Pre-KVK, KVK1, and KVK2 for each of 1 March, 2 March, and 3 March setup that you can possibly have at each stage of the game, as well as the best rally option and best garrison option that you can have as Cavalry mains. So if you guys actually like this video, go ahead and drop a thumbs up as well as subscribe to the channel. And if you actually want to see another video made for infantry and archers, please leave it down in the comment below. If there is enough requests, I'll go ahead and make basically the same video with that. But then again, without further ado, let's just get right to it. During the pre-KVK stage, I think the best pairing that you can bring out on the field will always have to include Minamoto, because he's so accessible in the very early part of the game. I know he is a very pay-to-win commander, but then again, at the same time, he's probably the cheapest commander that you can expertise in the game. Question mark. But yeah, he's probably the best and the easiest commander that you can basically work with at pre-KVK stage. Now, with that said, the best option that you can bring out with Minamoto is probably going to be Baibars and Mehmet. Now, there are two different ways that you can actually use Baibars and Mehmet. Baibars is a very easy commander for you to max because he's an epic commander. A lot of people can actually max epic commanders during pre-KVK stage. So if you want to unlock the full potential of Baibars, which will be doing 1000 damage factor to 5 different targets in the field, Baibars is not a bad option. And also with the fact that with Baibars' AoE attack, it doesn't get impacted by the number of units that you hit. So in most cases that you hit more than 2 or 3 marches on the field, your damage output in AoE, and just purely from AoE perspective, Baibars may outscale the power level of Mehmet, who is a legendary commander. What is better about Mehmet though is that he has a 20% skill damage buff that he has in second skill. With that said, that could actually bump up the damage factor of Minamoto, who does a lot of skill damage too. So if you're hitting less targets, just long story short, if you're hitting less targets and you have 5511 or better version of Mehmet, then I think Mehmet is a better option. If you're hitting more than 3 targets, I think Baibars is a better option. But then again, that's basically the best 1 March lineup that I think you can bring out during the pre-KVK stage. So yeah, that's basically it, and let's just go ahead and move on to 2 March setup. So it will be very difficult for most people to actually be able to bring out 2 different cavalry marches on the field during pre-KVK stage, just because you don't have the equipment and materials for you to build 2 different equipment sets for cavalry. But then again, if you have to, I think probably bringing out Belisarius or Cao into the field is the best option. Now, if you want to run 2 different marches that will do AoE damage, doing something like this is probably the best option, where you can actually swap out Belisarius, the epic Belisarius, with Cao. Let me just actually go ahead and do this. Yeah. And if you don't have Cao at a usable level, you can always use Belisarius and then run the Belisarius Baibars combo, which is a very strong combo that you can use in pre-KVK stage. Now, if you want to stretch yourself and have yourself the 3rd March for cavalry, I think for open field, you need to bring out Ethelfled, which will do AoE damage. She's a leader commander. She doesn't really get affected by the type of troop that you actually bring out. She does 800 damage factor AoE, which does not get impacted by the number of troops that you hit. So her damage output is slightly worse than Baibars, I feel like, on the field for a pre-KVK stage. But she's a free commander. She can actually be unlocked by you clearing out the scenarios. As long as you have her more than 5-1-1-1, you can still bring her out on the field. And this is probably the best 3 March lineup that you can have at pre-KVK stage. Now with that said, if you want to rally something, there is an option of you bringing out Minamoto and Cao, and this is probably the most common rally that you can see for pre-KVK stage. This is probably the strongest rally that you can bring out on the field for pre-KVK stage. And also you can replace Cao with Mehmet if you have enough skill points into him. Technically, at expertise level, I think Mehmet does outperform Cao. But then again, Cao is more accessible commander than Mehmet, just because of the fact that you have a lot of events that you'll be able to get the Cao heads from. So usually people run Minamoto Cao to just melt down the rally as soon as possible, as well as Barbarian Force that you can do during this stage. Now, no one in Rise of Kingdom history should be running a cavalry garrison unless you're protecting your city. But if you want to protect your city and you don't have any other gears for, let's say, infantry, which is probably the best gear towards garrison, you can technically run something like Minamoto and Mehmet or Cao. But even if you don't have equipment, I think it's still better for you to do like Charles Martel and Sun Tzu for the garrison. So I'll just go ahead and move on. But yeah, so those are my recommendations for pre-KVK stage. Just for those of you who are just watching this video for the first time and you're like, okay, like I need to bring out 3 different cav marches, but I have no idea which one I should be building. That's probably the best options that I can recommend for you at this moment. All right. So that's pretty much it. Let's just go ahead and move on to KVK1 stage. KVK1. Now in KVK1, the best improvement that you're going to have to your lineup is the fact that you'll have access to Lee Seung-ge. Now Lee Seung-ge is a very strong commander that does 1700 damage factor AoE in the circular form. Now that damage is a class level beyond whatever Mehmet and Baibars and anything that does AoE does in the game at this point. And also at the same time, I think Lee Seung-ge's skill damage amplifying of 50% is huge, and that makes him a lot stronger than even Baibars, even when you're hitting 5 target, I believe. Maybe for 5 target it might not be as strong as Baibars because Baibars is 1000 damage factor, does not get reduced down too much. But then again, if you think about how much that skill damage buff can amplify the first and primary commander's damage as well, sometimes I think it will be outperforming the damage output of Baibars, even if you're hitting 5 target. But with that said, I think the best use of Lee Seung-ge is that you put him behind Minamoto, so that you can actually run Minamoto and Lee Seung-ge if you're a cavalry main. This combo slaps on the field in KVK1. I know that a lot of people prefer to use Lee Seung-ge behind Charles Martel and Richard, which will keep Lee Seung-ge a lot safer. But then again, if you want to run in and out of the combat a lot faster with cavalry main march, running Minamoto for cavalry mains along with Lee Seung-ge is probably the best option that you will have. Now, with that said, that means that you can actually still run Cao with Baibars for the second march. And then for the third march, you can still run Belisarius, Epic Belisarius with either or of Mehmet and Ethelflaed. I think Mehmet is probably the better option among the two because of the skill damage buff he does. But then again, I know that a lot of people will not still have access to 5511 or better Mehmet at this point. So having Ethelflaed as a great option is probably going to complete this Dream March lineup that I can recommend for this stage. Now with that said, I think if you want to rally, I think still running Minamoto, but then again, with Lee Sung-ge is probably the best rally that you can possibly bring in during KVK 1 for Cavalry main. And then if you want to garrison, I'm not saying that you should, because I think garrison-wise, infantry is still infinitely better in KVK 1 stage, but if you want to garrison, you can technically run something like Minamoto Lee Sung-ge to make sure that you do maximum damage to the rally as well as anything that's swarming you. So that's basically my recommendation for KVK 1 for any cavalry mains entering KVK 1. Now, as you enter KVK 2 though, you have a lot more commander options that comes into the play. Now, Saladin is a great option that you'll have access to from Midas Governor event, and then you also have access to Khan, which is actually a Wheel of Fortune commander that you have access to. Now, lately, there has been a new update that was announced that will add Bertrand, which will be reworked as a combo damage commander, and Takeda Shingen, who will just remain as is, but then again, he was previously only available for people who are in KVK 3 or onward, is now going to join the KVK 2 lineup. So with that said, I think what a lot of people use on the field is in fact running Saladin with Lee Sung-ge, because I think Saladin is pretty tanky with a lot of skill damage mitigation that he does. I think with his second skill, let me just look it up real quick. No, actually he has third skill that does make him take 30% less skill damage, which makes him extremely tanky when compared to other commanders in KVK 2, especially because most of the damages that you'll see in KVK 2 will be based on skill damage. Now with that said, if you want to still bring out your Khan, which a lot of people wouldn't recommend bringing out Khan into the field, just because of the fact that, for one, if you get Khan from Wheel of Fortune commander list, you're gonna actually have to swap him out to some other commander in KVK 3. Most of the time, that investment's not worth it. So a lot of people who are actually just migrating to KVK 2 are the only ones who have access to Khan. But if you have access to Khan, I think using him along with buy bars or med is a good option. Let me just actually also make this pairing too, so that if you're actually not using Lee Sung-ge somewhere else, I think using Ethelfled is actually a really good pairing for you to pair with Saladin, to be really honest with you. So there's a lot more options that you can actually bring out on the field for KVK 2. Let me just actually change this to KVK 2. Yeah, for Cavalry. Now with that said, your Minamoto will be left to actually be paired with someone else. In all honesty, I think you should just still pair Minamoto with buy bars. So this way, you're going to basically be able to have Khan with Med, which will do a lot more AoE damage, single target damage, AoE damage, with a Khan doing a lot more single target damage, and then what's this called? The Med having the amplifying skill damage to kind of assist that along with his AoE damage, and Saladin doing providing a lot of tankiness that he needs with Lee Sung-ge paired with him, and also at the same time, if you want to use Lee Sung-ge somewhere else, whether it's with another cavalry commander or with another infantry or archer commander, you can always run it with Ethelfled, which will be a great pairing that you can bring out on the field. Now, leaving Minamoto to be actually used with someone else, and my recommendation for that, for best AoE open field like output that you can possibly have for KVK 2, you can always bring out Minamoto with buy bars. Now, Bertrand is actually being reworked as a combo damage commander. I think it will be tough for me to actually recommend using Bertrand by himself. But then again, instead, you can actually use him for rally with Takeda Shingen. Because Takeda actually has a lot of normal damage buff that he provides as a buffing commander, and also normal damage buff actually applies to amplify the combo damage that the Bertrand will be doing after the rework is done. So I think the best rally, surprisingly, is not going to be what it was before, which was actually using Khan and most likely Isangye to maximize the damage output. But then again, rather having Takeda Shingen along with Bertrand is probably the best rally that you'll be able to use in KVK2 for cavalry mains. But this is just speculation. We still haven't seen the rework on Bertrand come into the game yet. So once that's out, I'll let you know what might be the best pairing for you, and maybe this video can get updated back then. But then again, right now it's kind of tough for me to suggest the best pairing with Bertrand at this moment, because there's no other commander that would be able to do skill like combo damage during KVK2, and all these other commanders are going to be doing skill damage, so it just doesn't make sense for me to actually put him on the best open field March recommendation, but rather use him with Takeda Shingen if you have both of them, and then just do a lot of normal damage slash combo damage is basically what I would recommend at this point. Garrison, I still don't recommend that you Garrison at KVK2 with Cavalry, so yeah, let's just move on. I don't think there is really better options that you can have on here. Now let's just go ahead and move on to Season of Conquest, and let me just go ahead and refresh everything that I have, because all of those commanders are going to be useless in Season of Conquest. Now in Season of Conquest, you'll have access to all those new commanders that were released after, I don't know, very, very long time ago. I think like for the past 5 years, you'll have the latest commanders that were released at end game power level at 5 years ago. And I think the best pairing for those are going to vary based on what time that you're looking at and creating one of those guys at. But then again, currently the best march that you can bring out on the field is actually Ho Chubing and Arthur Pendragon. This is the single most powerful cavalry march that you can bring out on the field at this moment. It possibly could be the single strongest commander pairing that you can bring out on the field right now, with Bai Chu still not out yet in the game as of today, May 1st of 2025. But then again, yeah, this is probably the best cavalry march either way that you can bring out for the next 6 months minimum. So with that said, the second cavalry march that you can bring out on the field is actually Belisarius Prime with Joan of Arc Prime. So Belisarius Prime does a lot of debuff that would actually reduce the rage of that would actually expand the rage requirement for the target that is hit. That would actually disable. It's basically irresistible silence at the end of the day, because you're reducing the rage as well as, you know, raising the bar that is required from the target. But then again, that's not technically silence, so a lot of like non-silence, anti-silence skill mechanism doesn't work on the Belisarius Prime's skill. So I think Belisarius Prime and Joan of Arc Prime is technically the second best option that you can have on the field. And then the third best option that you can have on the field at this point is most likely going to be with Nevsky and William. Now with that said though, there is an option of you running Arthur with Philip, which will actually make the second best pairing basically Ho and Joan of Arc Prime, in my opinion. Or what you can also do is actually have Poe move down and then bench Nevsky and then have Poe William and Jonabar Prime with Belisarius Prime. Actually, Jonabar Prime probably has to be primary either way. So this is another option, three marshal option that you can possibly have if you wanna utilize Arthur Pendragon as combo damage commander. But then again, in terms of the best pairing options that I can recommend, is probably where did I put Belisarius Prime? Oh, where did I put Ho? Where is Ho Chubing at? Oh yeah, Ho is actually here. There you go. I benched Nevsky, right? Yeah, this is probably the three best lineup that you can possibly have at this point in terms of power level. Now with that said, Attila Subutai is the best rally combo that you can use for Cavalry in Season of Conquest. And currently the best pairing that you can have for Garrison is Eleanor and Hera. I know that there is Jan Ziska that is possibly available for you, but then again, it's not as strong as Eleanor Hera combo. And Hera is such a great commander for you to use at the end of the day for Garrison that currently I think missing out on using Hera is probably a lot that you're going to lose by using Jan Ziska in place of Hera. And using Jan Ziska Hera combo is okay, but then again, I think Eleanor does a lot more damage just overall. So I think it's just best that you stick to Eleanor Hera rather than anything else. So this is basically what I would recommend. Again, if you want to utilize Philip, you can actually utilize Philip with Arthur, and then you can move around Ho at the end of the day. But then again, this is what I recommend for all Cavalry members, Cavalry mains, in terms of the best commander pairing that you can possibly bring out for any part of the game. Hope you guys actually found this video useful. Hope this was actually pretty short and a lot shorter than my usual complete guide series. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did enjoy my video, please go ahead and like and subscribe to the video and channel. And as always, I'll see you all on the next video. Peace!